The city of Chicago had a heartbeat that never slept. By day, it was a symphony of horns, trains, and hurried footsteps. By night, it became something else, yet colder, darker, and full of whispers that slithered through the alleys between neon lights and broken dreams. It was in that night, beneath the weight of 1,000 secrets, that Detective Marcus Hale found himself chasing ghosts again. The rain had been falling for hours, turning the streets into rivers that reflected the city's glow and trembling patterns. Hale's coat was soaked, his cigarette almost out. He stood by the edge of an alley on West Jackson Boulevard, watching the flicker of blue and red lights dance across the wet pavement. Another body. Another message. Same mark? He asked without looking up as the coroner covered the lifeless young woman's body. Yeah, said Officer Ramirez, his partner, carved right into the palm. A single letter AV. Hale took a slow drag from what was left of his cigarette. That makes 5 victims in 3 months. All young, all alone, all found within a mile of each other. The press will call it another serial case, but he gestured toward the faint symbol. This is personal. Chicago had seen monsters before: gang wars, political scandals, corrupt cops, but this felt different. Whoever the killer was, he wasn't just killing. He was sending a message, and Hale was the only one who seemed to understand that message had roots deep in the city's past. Back at the precinct, the fluorescent lights buzzed like insects. The old brick walls seemed to close in as Hale laid out the case files. Photographs of the victims stared back at him. Young women, working late shifts, all vanishing between the hours of midnight and 2. The same letter, the same silence. Marcus, Ramirez said, leaning on the edge of the desk, you haven't slept in days. Maybe it's time to hand this one over. Hale laughed under his breath. Hand it over to whom? The department that's already buried 4 unsolved murders this year. This one's mine. He traced his finger across the city map spread on his desk. Red pins marked each crime scene. They formed a crooked line, leading south, toward the old meatpacking district, an area long abandoned, now home to forgotten warehouses and the lost souls of Chicago. That night, he drove through the rain-soaked streets, the wipers groaning in rhythm with his thoughts. He stopped at an old warehouse, the kind of place where you could scream and the city would never hear. He stepped inside, flashlight cutting through the dark. The smell of rust and decay filled his lungs. And then, a sound of soft footsteps behind him. Don't move, Hale barked, drawing his gun. A figure stepped out of the shadows. A woman, her eyes sharp, her movements cautious. You shouldn't be here, she said. I could say the same to you, Hale replied. Who are you? Someone who knows the shadows better than you ever will. She turned to leave, but he caught a glint of something metallic in her hand, a pendant, shaped like the letter AV. Wait, Hale said. You're connected to this. She paused. Connected? I'm trying to stop it. Her name was Evelyn Vega. She had once worked as an investigative journalist, digging into Chicago's underworld until her sister vanished 3 years ago. No trace, no body, only a symbol left behind, the same one now haunting Hale's case. The man you're looking for, she said, calls himself a Veritas. He believes he's purging the city of liars, corrupt politicians, dirty businessmen, even women he claims they deceive for survival. My sister wasn't one of them. She was just in the wrong place. Veritas, Hale muttered. Truth. They stood there, the rain dripping through the cracked ceiling, as thunder rolled over the city. Evelyn handed him a small USB drive. Everything I found is on this, but if you follow it, you'll find more than you want to know. Hale took it without hesitation. Truths never scared me. Back in his apartment, the city lights bled through the blinds. He plugged the drive into his laptop. Files opened in names, photographs, documents tied to half the city's elite. Judges, CEOs, police captains, each with a hidden scandal, embezzlement, bribery, murder. And next to some of the names, a red mark AV. It hit him like a punch to the chest. Every victim Veritas had killed was somehow connected to these people. But why target the weak instead of the guilty? Unless a broken bar, the victims were decoys, distractions. A noise came from the hallway outside. Hale turned, gun in hand. The door creaked open, and a shadow moved fast. The gunshot cracked through the silence, the bullet grazing Hale's shoulder as he dove behind the table. When he looked up, the intruder was gone, but the drive was missing. Blood seeping through his sleeve. Hale knew this wasn't random. Someone inside the system was protecting Veritas, someone powerful. The next morning, Ramirez found him at the diner on 5th Avenue, nursing a cup of black coffee and a stitched-up shoulder. "You look like hell," Ramirez said. "I've seen worse." "You gonna tell me what's going on?" Hale slid a photo across the table, an old black and white picture of police academy graduates. "See this?" He pointed to a young man in the back. "That's me." And that he tapped another face. Is Captain Dawson, the same Dawson who runs internal affairs? "Yeah, and the same Dawson who mentored me 20 years ago." Evelyn's files list him as one of the names connected to Veritas. "You think he's involved?" "I think he's the reason Veritas exists." Hale and Ramirez began tracing financial records, tracking shell companies and donations. It led them to an underground charity called the Clean Slate Foundation. Its donors, the same names on the list. Its mission? Restoring truth and justice to Chicago. By midnight, they had enough to confront Dawson. The captain's mansion stood on the edge of Lincoln Park, quiet, pristine, a place where corruption wore a tailored suit. Inside, Dawson was waiting. "I wondered how long it would take you," he said, sipping a glass of scotch. "You're running a death cult, Dawson," Hale said. "You and Veritas?" Dawson smiled. "You still don't get it, Marcus. We're cleansing the city. Veritas was never one man. It's an idea, a brotherhood born from the failures of law and justice. You're murdering innocent people." "Innocent?" Dawson laughed. "They were part of the machine, liars, thieves, parasites. We gave them what the courts wouldn't." Hale's finger tightened on the trigger. "You call that justice?" "I call it balance," Dawson said calmly. "And if you kill me, Marcus, you'll only prove I was right. The shadows will consume you too." Before Hale could respond, the gunshot rang out from behind him. Dawson's chest exploded in red as Evelyn stepped onto view, gun in hand, tears streaming down her face. "He killed my sister," she whispered. Dawson's glass shattered as he fell. For a long moment, no one spoke. Hale slowly lowered his weapon. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did," she said. "Now it's over." But it wasn't. As sirens wailed in the distance, Hale looked around the room. Files burned in the fireplace, records, names, evidence, Dawson's final insurance policy. Whatever truth he had, it was vanishing in smoke. "Evelyn," he said urgently, "we have to go now." They ran into the rain as police cars flooded the street. By the time the officers stormed the mansion, the fire had consumed everything. Dawson's empire of lies died with him. Weeks passed. The city moved on. Newspapers called Dawson a tragic hero, a captain who'd lost his way. The murders were chalked up to a lone vigilante. Case closed. Hale was suspended for obstruction, and Evelyn disappeared. But Chicago remembered. The shadows never really vanished, they just changed shape. One night, months later, Hale sat on a bench overlooking the Chicago River, nursing another cigarette. The city shimmered in the distance, indifferent and alive. A voice came from behind him. "Still chasing ghosts, detective?" He turned. Evelyn stood there, dressed in black, her hair tied back. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly. "Neither should you." She handed him a small envelope. Inside was a photograph of another body, another mark. "It's happening again," she said. Someone picked up where he left off. Hale closed his eyes, exhaling smoke into the wind. "I told myself I was done." "You're not," she said. "You never will be." Chicago doesn't let its shadows rest. He looked out at the skyline, at the blinking lights, the endless hum of life and sin. Maybe she was right. Maybe some men were born to walk the line between light and dark. Where? he asked finally. South Side. Old train yard. He stood, holstering his gun, the cigarette falling into the water below. Then let's finish it. As they disappeared into the night, the rain began to fall again, soft at first, then harder, washing over the city like a confession no one would ever hear. In the heart of Chicago, the lights never went out. But in its alleys, its bridges, and its forgotten corners, the shadows were alive, and somewhere among them, truth waited, patient and cruel. For every light that shined in Chicago, there was a shadow that refused to die.